Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncommon Energy Podcast. On this week's episode, we'll be talking about the Pokemon Company International canceling the Yokohama Open just a few weeks before it was set to happen. Of course, a side tournament happening at the World Championships in Japan. Well, it was happening. It is not happening any longer. Another week in the Pokemon TCG and another cheating allegation, another cheating controversy coming to the limelight. Someone caught on stream doing something a little shady. We'll break it down, tell you what happened, and give our opinions on the situation. We'll, of course, have Guess That Flavor Text, everyone's favorite segment of the cast. And then one final tournament result to cover before the World Championships, at least IRL tournaments. We'll probably talk about some online events and stuff maybe next week, but talk about one final tournament result that happened this past week in Asia. We'll look at a few new cards that were revealed, and then we're also going to close things out on the bonus episode exclusively over on our Patreon. If you want to catch our weekly bonus episode, you can do it at patreon.com/Uncommon Energy Podcast. My name is Chip Ritchie, joined here, as always, by my friend and co-host, Azul GG. What's up, Azul? How we doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, Chip. I had a good week. It's been a good week. Good last couple weeks. I've been really, it's almost like makes me kind of not dread. Like I already know I'm gonna have probably a bad time at the Worlds event in general. I've said this like a couple times now. I feel like I'm excited to explore Japan. Not excited to actually. I just don't like conventions with a lot of people, right? Like I feel like regionals are sometimes a little bit more chill, but when it gets really crowded, I'm not a big fan of that. So kind of like slightly dreading Worlds. Not competing, but just the overall experience doesn't sound like it's gonna be my cup of tea. And then what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, but it's because I've been getting loving just content. I've been streaming every day except my Mondays. I don't stream on Mondays. YouTube video grind. I actually went to the dentist for the first time in like 5 years plus, like 6 years.
Oh my gosh.
I did go to the dentist at one point in the middle of that. I got like a cleaning or whatever. Um, when I had
Any
to
cavities?
no, there was no cavities. I mean, I'm pretty good with my cleaning. I'm pretty good my the last 4 years or so of my life, I've been really good about my dental health, and I'm getting better about my physical health outside of my teeth more recently. But yeah, I've been really good about my dental health the last 4 years. So no cavities, no what they have to refill a couple fillings. Like, they just got worn out over time from back when I had some cavities that got filled when I was younger. So that's it though. So I was ready. I was going into it. I was like, all right, who knows? Couple cavities. Maybe I got to get a tooth pulled, but I went there like mentally prepared, like on that level. But yeah, we went through it all, and not really anything. The problem at all. I got to get a cleaning here. I got to get a cleaning, and a couple fillings have to be fixed up a little bit. But that's it. So I was very thankful that that was the worst of it, to be honest. So yeah, it's been good. It's been good. I've been loving the routine, just being on in routine, the grind for content, and then not having to deal with any major dental issues.
Definitely a dub. Didn't have too eventful of a week, except for this past weekend. I did go to a League Cup, my first tournament of the 2024 season. And it was actually kind of
Ooh.
fun because my younger brother came with me to his first ever Pokemon tournament. I say younger brother, and I feel like people would like hear that and think he's like a kid, but he's like 26. So younger brother, but adult younger brother. And he played in his first tournament. Had a good time. Unfortunately, I did not do really well. I played Arceus Giratina, and I think in theory the deck seems fine, and it felt great the games I played. But I had 3 games where I just had brick starts and did not get set up. I lost 2 of those, and then I lost another game that was just like a close game against a Gardevoir that I just ended up not squeaking out. So, um, yeah, I had some interesting games happen though. It was pretty fun. Didn't make top 8, and my brother didn't do very good either for his first tournament, but I think he kinda, like he felt it a little bit, he was like, "I like this, but I just wish I knew." He doesn't, like, play a lot on live, and he pretty much only plays when he and I play, like, once or twice a week maybe together, really once a week or so, and then he'll, like, watch some YouTube videos, like, he'll watch Azul or Mahone stream, but that's, like, the extent of what he knows and, like, keeps up with on Pokemon TCG. So he was like kind of missing out on some of the like he read a lot of cards, every time his opponent played something, he was reading it in round 3, he played against Mewtwo v Union, had never seen Mewtwo v Union before, and so he's like, "What is happening?" But we got it sorted away. And it was overall a good experience. Fun times. Shout outs to Guild Gaming in Jacksonville, North Carolina. It was a good time.
Yeah, it sounds like he's getting to
I
it.
will say, I wish they started a little earlier because they didn't start until 2 p.m., which is pretty
Jeez.
late. But once the tournament, we were a little slow getting started and we were a little slow getting out of there because they gave everyone two like of the play Pokemon packs for playing, but they didn't give them to you until the end of the
You had to
tournament.
finish, yeah.
And they waited to start the top 8 and then give us the pack. So it was like a little slow getting out of there, a little slow getting started. But once we got started, between rounds and stuff, everything was super, super quick. So shout outs to them for running overall a very positive event, I would say.
Yeah, I remember I remember we talked about this about your brother not that long ago, and I was like, get him in there, get him to play some tournaments. You're like, I don't know if he's gonna take it too seriously, but it was like he was mad. Remember, he was mad because he misplayed in the league
His
or
league,
the
his
pre-release,
pre-release, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And now once again, bro, he's got that competitive drive. I don't know, man. I think he's
It was also
he's
funny too because we were driving away from the tournament, and he was like, because he's played standard in this tournament. He's played standard with me. He's played GLC with me, and he's played the pre-release. And we've actually done a couple like build and battles ourselves too. Like he bought like a build and
Mhm.
battle stadium, and so like we did that, which was pretty fun. And he was just like, we come away from the League Cup and we're driving home in the car. It's like about a 2 hour drive, and it was me, him, and one other friend. And he was just like, I don't know, man. I feel like I just like the formats where um there's a lot more one prizers. That's what he said, where it's like the games last longer. He said, I feel like in the games that last longer, there's more like comeback potential. What
Uh,
one of the things he also said was like, yeah, I feel like I can if in like the pre-releases or like GLC and stuff, he feels like he can make a small mistake and then like come back and still
yeah,
like recover and fix it in a future turn. But in standard, the games are 5 turns or less, pretty around 5 turns, I'd say most games probably. And everything is kind of mapped out. They're flow charted out. It feels like when the matchups a lot of the time some things aren't quite as according to plan, but he was playing Lugia, so that I maybe didn't help that cause as well, where it's just like it's
yeah.
kind of you're at the whim of whatever your hand kind of looks like most of the time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then the other thing you mentioned was the League Cup started at 2 p.m., which sounds not yeah, if you're pushing like if you're getting top 8 and stuff. Like what time did you get out of there? Like before top 8?
We left at like 7 and we did not make
Mm.
top 8. So
Yeah, so that was going to like 10 p.m. or something like that probably. Yeah, cuz I remember I mentioned this like back in the day when we were talking locals, I think as the first set of locals like I remember back in the day when I started playing, you know, it was cities and battle roads instead of cups and challenges. We were starting at like I feel like we were starting at like 9 a.m. Like I remember getting up at like 7 a.m., driving an hour to the tournament, and 45 minutes, hour later, the tournament was starting at like 9 a.m. That's how I remember it anyways. But and then something you mentioned with that as well, I was like, well, that's because like TOs used to run tournaments back in the day. People have a little bit more experience running the tournaments, but nowadays it's just kind of the card shop owners
I will say
running them.
this was their second League Cup that they've run since League Cups came back, right? Because they ran one quarter four, like
Yeah.
the only quarter of the season. And I didn't go to that one, but a lot of the players there had been to that one, and that one was best of 3. So they did learn their lesson.
Okay.
They made the new one best of 1. So it's like
Yeah,
they're willing to like change things and
of
improve,
course,
which is
yeah.
always good, right? So
Apparently, a lot of people like best 2 out of 3 though, which is like another like I'm like I
for
could not
cups and
handle
stuff, I'm
best of
just
3
not
locals.
about it just
Yeah,
because
me
of
either.
maybe it's just because like I end up traveling so much to the cups. Like such a distance. Like I'm willing to go at least whenever I was like super heavy competing, I was pretty willing on the weekend with a group of people willing to drive like 3.5 ish hours for a cup,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And when that's the case, you're waking up super early, getting there, you got to play all day. You hope to make top 8. If one of you in your car makes it to the finals, like you got to drive 3.5 hours back home that night. Many times we're getting home at midnight, and that's with tournaments starting at like 10 a.m., right?
yeah. Yeah, but it does seem like a majority of the community does like best 2 out of 3, so, I mean, I don't go to locals anymore, so whatever people wanna do, whatever they wanna run them with, whatever. I'm personally not a fan, and over in Europe, I think almost all their tournaments are best 2 out of 3 for locals as well. Maybe not challenges, but cups definitely, and I
Yeah.
think in Australia it's the same way, just because they have less of them, so and I'm sure there would be a little bit more desire from most people if you got less tournaments like, over here in America, we are kind of We got plenty of tournaments just from cups and
And I
challenges to
would
regionals and
say
stuff.
best of one versus best of three is not often going to be a deterrent of whether or not
Yeah, yeah,
people
yeah. People are
come
gonna
to
show
your
up.
tournament. Yeah.
Pokemon players are fiends for the championship points, bro. They'll
The
they'll show
shop
up.
was surprised how many people they had. They were expecting like 20 and we had 40. So it was like
Yeah,
double their expected attendance. Because Jacksonville's like kind of in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina. Like on the
yeah,
eastern North Carolina is like a no man's land, to be honest. Once you get between Raleigh and the beach, there's just like not much of anything going on. There's a couple military bases, but
yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah, like the first 2 quarters, there's a lot of people go to a lot of locals. I feel like the 3rd quarter and 4th quarter does taper off a little bit. You have like 4th quarter, a lot of people aren't
Yeah.
going except for the people who need those last couple points for their invite. But yeah, first 2 quarters I feel like are always jam packed. But yeah, I think we move on. Speaking of tournaments, a tournament that won't be happening and no one will be going to is the Yokohama Open, which was when did they announce it? That's actually something I wasn't too curious about when I was talking about it on my stream the other day. Like, how long ago did they announce it? Because it was just this week that they announced that, it will no longer be happening.
Yeah. So it's no longer happening. I'm not sure exactly when
About
it
5
was
days
announced,
ago.
but it wasn't too long ago because, like, all the world's information wasn't released until, like, the last couple months, but
I think it
it's
was on,
definitely
like,
been
the
within
world's
2
page.
months, I would say. But for anyone who doesn't know, like, what the Open Tournament is, it's an event that happens every single year, or in the past has happened every year since, like, 2017, I think was the first year, at the World Championships. It happens during day 2 usually, so it's non-worlds competitors for the most part competing in this event, and it's just a way for people to get a jump start on the new season. Maybe you played in day 1 of Worlds, didn't make day 2, or you're coming as a potential next season hopeful Worlds candidate. So players come, compete, and try to get into this event and try to get some championship points to get the next season kick started. I will say in London in 2022, it was the first time because of the structure of the tournament where
3
only the top
days.
8 competitors played on Saturday. Um, everyone for the besides the top 8 competitors was able to play in the London Open. So like even day 2 worlds competitors for the first time. So it made it definitely a bit more stiff of a competition. It's kind of been a tournament that people, you know, it's a tournament happening at Worlds, but the world's best players are playing in the actual tournament, right? So it's
Yeah.
not quite the same level of a regionals, I would say for sure.
I don't know, it's still
It's
pretty
pretty
competitive,
close though
like
because of how big it is, and you still have to, like, go, and there are still good players competing in it
yeah,
almost
yeah.
always.
Like, I mean, I remember the DC Worlds, the most recent DC Worlds, like, the 2 people who won those was Igor Costa and Xander Perot, so it's like
Yeah.
like, there's usually 2 opens as well. They usually split the tournament in half because there's so many people, and there's no top cut as well, which, no one's really a big fan of that, I don't think. I think the lack of top cut, no one's a big fan of, but it's just kind of like a little it's supposed to be a little bit more laid back of a tournament, I guess, as well. Like, it's supposed to be like a tournament that's still like somewhat fairly competitive still. There's still a lot on the line as far as championship points go. You don't there's no prizing. It's like regional level championship points, but you don't get $5,000 for winning.
Yeah, there's
But you
usually
still get
some,
some
like,
packs.
packs and, like, some prize wall tickets, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So all that stuff, it's gonna be a pretty competitive tournament still. None of the day 2 competitors are gonna be competing there. Everyone who made it from day 1 to day 2 wouldn't be competing or generally isn't competing into it. London was a little bit special with that. Um, but then, yeah, there's some yeah, but it doesn't feel like, as, as big as something like a regional or an IC or anything like that for sure.
So they released all the information about the Yokohama Open within the last few weeks, outlined the structure of what the event would be, but then this past week, Play Pokemon tweeted, regretfully, the decision has been made to cancel the Yokohama Open. Please look forward to participating in fun side events and activities throughout Worlds weekend. And people, I would say rightfully so, were pretty bummed out and upset at this announcement, especially coming so close to the tournament. So there's kind of a few camps of people here, just kind of general like annoyance and upset, which I would say is most people. Like, this is a big part of Worlds for a lot of people, 1,000+ players would compete in this event. But there was several people as well in the comments who are just like, I was going to Japan for this tournament and now you've canceled it. And I will say, like, if your plans were to go to Japan for this tournament and now it's been canceled, like, it's no one at Pokemon who like had announced this tournament wanted to cancel it, right? So it's
Yeah.
like the fact that they had to make this announcement means that something, like, they feel like the best course of action is to cancel this event. It's not because they want to, it's because they feel like if they ran this event, it would not be up to the normal standard of a Pokemon tournament or something along those lines, more than likely, or like they literally just don't have the capacity to actually even run the tournament. One of those things, something along those lines. So
Yeah, if something
they
changed
felt
as far
like
as
the
that
best
goes.
course of action was just to cancel it.
Yeah, a lot of people a lot of people commenting on it it made it sound like 2 weeks before they made the when they made the initial announcement of the Yokohama Oma Yokohama Open existing, that they were like, "All right, 2 weeks from now, we're gonna flip a coin. If it's tails, we're not gonna run the event. If it's heads, we'll continue to run the event." And then this was the result of that coin flip. That's the way it kinda made, like, some people made it sound. And yeah, like, we did see, like you said, it sucks that it's not happening. I think it's a super cool event to actually have at Worlds. Like I said, it doesn't feel quite as competitive as like a regional or anything like that, but it doesn't have to. I think it's like a really cool event to have at Worlds ever since they've started doing it. Um, but if you were planning your whole trip from Japan to go and play in this event, like I don't know what to tell you, but like there were so many people who were gonna want to play in this event. Like, there's so many spectator badges out there. Everyone with a spectator badge has a chance to play in the event. If you're a competitor in day one and you lose out on day one, you were guaranteed a spot, I believe. So if you're a competitor in day one and you lose out, you were guaranteed a spot. But I'm sure your goal is to try and make day two. But for everyone else who like was showing up with a spectator badge, it was probably going to be a lottery system to get in. There's a lot of people who would have wanted to play in this. A lot of spectator badges out there, and you probably weren't going to play in the event anyways. Just like, and obviously someone has to, but just percent chance wise, if it was going to be a lottery system registration, because I doubt they were letting everyone with a spectator badge able to play, like you probably weren't going to be playing in the event anyways. To be honest, like so, like basing your whole trip around it seems a little bit. I don't even know the right word to use there, but like a poor choice. Like, and now if you're ship, and I don't think, and I think maybe most people had that kind of initial reaction just because that's how they felt emotionally in the moment, and that's what they kind of vented out on Twitter. But I'm sure as they've kind of slowed down or thought about it a little bit more, they're like, okay, I'm still going to enjoy Worlds. For most people outside of Japan, this is going to be their first time in Japan. I'm gonna go to Worlds, get the Worlds experience still, and then I'm gonna go find stuff to do in Japan. So I think most people have come to terms with it a little bit better, especially anyone who hasn't fully canceled their trip because the Open doesn't exist. But I think going to going to Worlds for the sole purpose of playing in the Open is would have been pretty ill advised to begin with, because you probably weren't going to be playing in the event to begin with, because it was just going to be a lottery system, and majority of people aren't going to make it through the lottery system.
Yeah, I mean, I played in the 2017 Anaheim Open and the 2019 DC Open, and I remember registration was a nightmare then for the, like, at least for the
Yeah,
DC Open. It might not have been as bad for Anaheim because Anaheim was actually a pretty small worlds in comparison to like the more recent years. That was the year that there was not that many people that qualified because of like they had messed up the point structure. The way they'd set up the point structure, like it was too hard to get to worlds. You remember
they had
that
to keep
year?
like
Like,
cutting it down, right? They had to
yeah,
keep,
they
yeah,
lowered
making it
the
easier.
bar partway through the year. Um but and I remember in 2018, I did not make day 2 at Worlds, but there was a like people had signed up for the Open before Worlds, and then they were going to release some spots the night before the Open. So like Worlds day 1 ended Friday. They were going to release some spots Friday night. And I remember
Was that
being at
Nashville?
dinner and everyone is sitting there on their phones trying to like register. And I made the conscious decision like, you know what? Didn't make day 2, not really feeling this tournament. I'm not even going to try to register. I'm just going to kind of hang out during day 2, go watch the stream and like do my own thing and not try to go play in the Open. But I remember like everyone at dinner sitting there trying to register on their phone as soon as like the hour mark hit on the Arcanine Labs. Um so like I remember those experiences of having a hard time registering for this tournament, and that's before Worlds is like the level of event that it is now, where
Yeah,
it's like so much more of a convention, way more people are there. We're in Japan, so like I can't even imagine the amount of Japanese players that we're going to try to register to play in this, which, as they should, it's a side event at Worlds, they're part of the
yeah,
Worlds experience as well, even though they don't earn championship points from it. Um like it would have had to have been, if there's 1,000 spots in this thing, like 10,000 people trying to register for this tournament, 5,000. I mean, it's a lot for sure.
Yeah,
It's
it would have been a lot.
yeah, somewhere in that range, 5 to 10,000 probably spots. So like if you like Azul said, like if you were planning your trip based on playing in this tournament, like
That's it.
yeah, it's kind of silly to have done that because there is no guarantee. It would be like booking a trip to go like watch a concert somewhere before tickets have even gone on sale, right? And
Yeah.
then you get there and a million people are trying to do the same thing and oh all of a sudden you don't get a ticket, right? But at least here for Worlds there's so much more to do, right? You're in Japan, a new country, so you can do stuff outside of the World Championships like sightsee, and but there will
That's
be
what I'm
also
looking
so
forward
many
to.
unique Pokemon things. Obviously we talked about last week how there's some issues there with availability to some of the features and stuff like that, but if you at least have a spectator pass, I'm sure like at least just getting in the door at Worlds, like there's going to be a lot happening,
Yeah.
outside of just sitting down and watching a live stream.
Yeah, hopefully there will be, and it does feel kind of bad, of course. Like it was really hard for anyone to get into any of the lottery system activities. And then, of course, now the Open is canceled. Once again, it would have been another lottery system. So even your mechanics, no matter how fast you are at RK9 registration, it probably wasn't going to save you. Probably would have been a lottery system like everything else has been up to this point. So you
Yeah.
weren't getting into that either. So yeah, planning the trip around, going to Japan, going to Worlds, and then if you get into the Open and playing in it, would have been cool. But yeah, I think, and I think a lot of people will come to terms on that as well. Like, I don't think this is like, I think it's just like the emotional reaction in the moment from a lot of people was just like, this sucks. I don't even want to go anymore. But I think once some people kind of realize they probably weren't going to be able to play in the Open anyways, even if it did happen, just based on the lottery system, they'll be like, all right, I'm still going to Worlds, gonna go hang out with friends, find some stuff to do in Japan in general. I think everyone will kind of come down from it. And like I said, yeah, like we said, like I don't think TPCI, put out the announcement 2 weeks ago or however long it was, planning to flip a coin 5 days ago to see if the Yokohama Open would happen. They probably made the announcement assuming it would happen, and then something came up and they had to cancel it. Now, would it be cool if they were transparent and told us the reason? Yes, of course, right? We'd all love to know that. Um, but it's TPCI, so I'm not surprised at that. And who knows? Maybe they'll still give us a little bit more information between now and Worlds. I doubt it. And of course, that would be nice for them to be a little bit more transparent. It does seem like they're kind of headed in that direction in general with stuff, but they do seem to consistently come up a little bit short on transparency. So, yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
But if you still make it your way out there, I'm sure. I promise you'll still have a good time for sure, despite no Open.
Yeah, more to do than just the Pokemon tournament for sure. Um Now, and also like there's an element to this as well. I mean, I don't know if you have a strong take in this argument, Azul, as someone who is a day two competitor. But in years past, when the Open happens, there are always like day two competitors who kind of have the sentiment of like, well, it's not really fair that so many players are getting a head start on the next season. They're already getting a head start on the next stipend that I don't even have the opportunity to play in. So that's not something that's going to exist this year. Good or bad thing. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that was always just like a fine thing. If it just like kind of occurred that way, it's just like fine. It's not that big of a deal. And I think most of the people who even had gripes with that initially, like I didn't see anyone complain about the opens the last couple times, right? So I think like basically that has basically become like null and void, and it never really mattered. It doesn't really matter. It never really mattered. And even the people who thought it mattered back then, I don't think it matters anymore. Yeah, the challenge giving or the what's it called, giving points. The Open's
The
giving those
Open giving points.
points.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter. And I think most people have come to terms with that. It just doesn't matter. So not worth worrying about for sure. But yeah, I never really cared. I think the people who did kind of care, I don't even know how much they cared. Who the people who did care when the Opens first started, have come to terms with that. That it doesn't really matter. I don't even think they care anymore. So won't be. But now it'll be one less thing for people to complain about on Twitter. That's for sure.
Well, and speaking of people complaining and talking about things on Twitter, there was something that kind of blew up this past weekend from a live stream. I think this is like a live streamed League Cup that happened. And it was Benji Fam. Shout outs to Benji. He seems to always be the person who's catching and tweeting these instances out.
Yeah.
But a situation of another potential cheating scandal, allegedly, cheating occurring on this live stream. So this is a League Cup, I believe that was happening in Italy. Is that right, Azul?
Yeah, I mean, let's see where Milan is.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
in Italy.
Yeah, I
Yep.
didn't know exactly where it was. Okay.
Oh, I thought I mentioned that to you before the
No,
podcast.
no. Well, you might have, and I did not get that, but yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure Milan's in Italy, but let me Google to make sure. But yes, Milan is in Italy. Um, and I think that is actually where you ever have those cookies that are called Milanos or whatever?
I've had those, yes.
Yeah, I think they're made in I might don't quote me on that. I talked about it with my chat earlier today. I think the consensus was that Milan cookies were made in Milan initially, and that's where they're from. That's it. That's all I had to say.
Milano cookies origin. Cookie concept, the Naples. All right.
Am I
Well, you know
wrong?
what? We'll have to research this later. We don't have the time now. As we'll stop typing. Stop typing. It's okay. We'll get into it another time. But
I
yeah,
could
so
be
what
wrong, but
happened
I thought that
here
was what.
at
Go
this
ahead.
League Cup is kind of an interesting thing that I don't know that I've ever seen before. I've got the clip playing on the YouTube video for those who are listening on the various podcasting platforms. But we've got two players here in round two of this cup. It is game three, so it's a best of three tournament. So we are in game three currently. It is currently the player on the right, Anna's turn. And Dario, the player on the left, is the one where the issue and question occurs. So Anna's thinking through their turn, thinking about what they want to do. Dario starts to kind of straighten the board up, takes a second to straighten up the lost zone, picks up his lost zone, picks up his hand, and then places his hand where his lost zone was, and then picks up his lost zone. And now his lost zone becomes his hand.
It's a sick magic trick, Chip.
Wild sequence of events here. So something like I've never seen happen. Um, I don't know. Azul, what were kind of your first takes seeing this when it happened?
So yeah, when I first saw it, I did put out a tweet. I was like, "This is wild," and then I added Dario on Twitter, and Dario responded, kind of, stating their defense of what happened, that it was a mistake, and that it was a mistake, didn't mean to happen, and that the previous hand was better for the scenario anyways. So the taking the loss on hand doesn't make any sense. But after I then deleted my tweet because like, okay, Dario came forward with some context, so I can work with this, and I'm like, okay, maybe there's a chance that this isn't intentional from Dario. So I deleted my tweet, and I was like, okay, I'll review it tomorrow on my stream, which is today, which is going to be yesterday for everyone who's listening to this. So I reviewed it on my stream, and if anyone wants to go back, they can go watch the VOD of my stream where I kind of talk through everything and break everything down and give my thoughts. But based on the current board state, if Ana on the other side does not leave a two prize Pokemon in their active, then it's pretty good to have Boss KO on Giratina from the bench for Dario, right? Now, whether or not that's the optimal line of play in this, whether it's optimal to have the Lost Zone hand or your original hand, there's an argument there. But actually, on how the game plays out, Ana does end up attacking with the Giratina V Star, leaving it in the active. And it would have been better for Dario to have the hand that is now in the Lost Zone. But in the moment, the hand that Dario has currently, I mean, it's not bad for this scenario. So based on that, it's possible that the thought process went through Dario's head, like, maybe I want my Lost Zone instead of my hand, and then made the switcheroo. And then as the game progressed, and it actually played out after Ana plays a Roxanne towards the end of their turn, which you can't see in the clip here that Chip's showing you, it would have been better to have the hand that Dario had then put in the Lost Zone, which contained two Super Rod, two Colress, and a Roxanne. So a lot of good cards. And all Dario needs at this point is an
And then
energy
Dario
if Ana
also
leaves a
by
queen in
picking up
that.
this lost zone does add like 4 battle VIP pass or
Yeah.
something to the hand, which is like obviously just an unplayable card.
Yeah,
What
so those
I
are
kind
bad,
of
but does
don't
get a boss and a jet energy, which would win the game if Ana does not play Roxanne.
what's kind of tough for me to just wrap my head around at this point is like when someone sets something face down here, it's like pretty much the only thing anyone sets down here is their hand, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe your discard pile face up, but your hand is like the only thing that's going down here. So it just is. I just can't understand how
Based on
in
just habit, right?
like just how yeah, like how this would happen even in habit, right?
That's what I'm saying, like, how would
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, like, how would this ever happen?
How would this happen by mistake, you know?
Yeah.
Because like now Dario picks up the hand, looks at it, and then now sets that hand into the lost zone. I don't know. It's definitely a little
It's
sketchy for
wild.
sure, but I don't want to say one way or the other exactly what I think. Yeah, like I don't, because I don't know for sure what intentions are here in this spot. I could maybe understand how this was a mistake, but I also like it just doesn't look like something that would naturally happen.
Yeah, so, um, another thing that another thing I noticed here when watching this, and this is actually something that I've actually now picked up on after the whole situation went down with Eder, and I kind of walked through that and looked through that and kind of reviewed what he was doing. And there does seem to be some like similar or some similar actions here or movements here from Dario, where Dario is just fidgeting with a lot of things, fixes his
Straightening
board,
up, yeah,
touches
yeah.
his lost zone, moves his lost zone around, realigns the energy, moves the lost zone, like a lot of just fidgeting, right? And that's what Eder was doing when Eder was cheated on the stream in Bogota, right? So that's one thing I noticed immediately is like just the way that Dario was moving around cards was just like doing a lot of like seemingly innocent moving of and arranging of the board. Um, and there was while I was fond of viewing this on my stream, some people did come into chat who said they were at the event, and one of them was the judge. And basically, the story. Now this isn't 100%, so I'm just going to say what I think was communicated to me through the Twitch chat. This is pretty close. I'm pretty sure what they meant by everything they said was basically after this round, the head judge of the event was contacted by someone, one of their friends who was watching the stream, and was like, "Dario made this error on stream." The judge went to Dario and was like, "Dario, you made this error on stream." And Dario confessed to knowing the error happened, but not doing anything about it in the moment. So if that is true, and if they want to come forward and dispute that, what I just said there, that's fine. So it's like all just was communicated through my Twitch chat earlier. So I don't know if this is 100% or if those people were 100% there and how much information they have, right? But one of them does pretty much seem to definitely have been the head judge who I was talking to from the tournament. Um, so no matter what, if that is true, no matter how you look at this, Dario did cheat. Now there's two different ways the cheating could have happened though. So no matter what, if Dario knew the board state got messed up and didn't try and correct it or call a judge to have it try and be corrected, Dario cheated, right? So I think if that is true, Dario cheated. But there's two different ways it could have happened. Dario could have been in this situation and been like, I am trying to swap my hand with my lost zone, and attempted to then do that with like premeditated intent. The other way it could have happened is it could have been a mistake, and Dario could have just somehow ended up. Although it doesn't look like that's, I don't know how it doesn't look like that's what happened. It could have happened that Dario somehow ended up with their lost zone in their hand and their hand in their lost zone. And then when they looked at their hand, they were like, this is my lost zone. And then just panicked and thought the best way to handle the situation was just to say nothing. Right. And in that situation, it's a little bit more innocent. It's still cheating, but I think there's definitely a difference between that happening, Dario just seeing that and being like, I don't know what to do here. Let's just continue playing the game. And then uh, starting the turn or being like halfway through Anna's turn and being like, I'm going to try and get my hand in my lost zone and my lost zone in my hand, right? There definitely is a difference there, I feel like.
Yeah.
And after analyzing it all, talking to my stream, kind of having a discussion about it, my thoughts are if I had the power here to make a judgment call, I think Dario should receive a 3-month ban at least. I don't think it should be a perma ban. I think they should receive a 3-month ban. They should have to skip out on Worlds in the first part of the season, and if they want to come back and continue to play Pokemon after that, then I think that would be fair.
So what in your mind makes this different than the Eder situation? The fact that it's less
The Eder
definitive
situation, it
that
would be
it's
hard to.
intentional?
Yeah, there definitely. I think there is some room open for interpretation here. Whereas I think with the Eder, I don't think anything will ever top Eder. Like I think it's impossible to ever top cheating on stream the way Eder did it. That was crazy. But I think there's a little bit more room for an opening for interpretation here. I'm a big believer in second chances in life in general, and I haven't fully thought my. I've said this before. I haven't fully fleshed out my thought process on second chances in Pokemon when the person kind of admits to having cheated. Um, but I'm a big believer in second chances in life in general. Now, in a luxury hobby like the Pokemon TCG, if you cheat in it, should you just be done and kind of move on with your life? Maybe. But my current like thought process of it after kind of like I said, analyzing everything on my stream is that I think Dario definitely cheated here. If like everything that I talked about is true, but I think it'd be reasonable to allow Dario to come back in the game like after some kind of temporary ban. That's my current feelings on it, anyways.
Well, Edder's still not banned, so I wouldn't hold
That's
your breath
true.
for
For
any of that
Dario.
happening. Chip's prediction on that still reigning true, by the
It would
way.
make the Eder situation even more wild if they banned Dario, but not Eder. I think that'd be like it could get more crazy. How would you feel if that happened, Chip? If that was the
Yeah, I just wouldn't even know what's up, what's down. Are we in the Matrix? Like, this has to be a simulation at that point, right? No,
Yeah,
and I think one thing I want to kind of think through and clarify from our perspective, because I feel like we're kind of aligned on how we would think about this. So, like, there's two scenarios here, right? Where, like you said, Dario thought about realized he could do this on his turn and was like, okay, I'm gonna do this, swap my lost zone, boom, I've got boss orders in my hand. And the other scenario is he just accidentally does this, moving the cards around,
yeah,
picks up his lost zone, and then realizes it at some point in the turn. So that is making a mistake. And that in and of itself is not cheating, right? If Dario
yeah,
accidentally swaps cards around, or if you find yourself accidentally moving piles of cards. Or like there's multiple piles of cards on the table, right?
yeah,
So it's like feasible enough to think that people moving piles around, a pile gets messed up, right? It's a mistake that is going to happen at some point, has happened to people, I'm sure, at some point. When it becomes cheating is when you realize that the mistake has happened and
yeah,
then you do nothing.
yeah.
Whenever you realize the mistake has happened and you're like, you know what, I'm going to try to just shake it off, pretend nothing happened. Maybe no one's watching this League Cup stream anyway. Maybe it won't get caught, you know?
But Benji fam was there the whole time. Yeah, another bust from Benji. But yeah, there definitely is a difference there for sure, right? There's a difference, like I would say, on the kind of a moral, ethical level as well, and it's really hard to judge those situations. I think, but we can try and do our best to handle those. Yeah, it's really hard to like judge those situations, like the difference there.
And to be
But yeah,
honest,
once
like,
you rate, like yeah, like as if Dario just like
when
noticed this, yeah, okay, how would
how
you
does
not
he
know?
not fan the hand out and then
And be like,
realize, I don't think I had 3 Battle VIP pass in my hand. I feel like I remember making some pretty easy lost zone decisions throughout this game.
yeah.
I don't play 7 of these in my deck, like
Yeah. So, like, that's why I'm saying, like, in the moment, like, yeah, and if it took Dario a second, like, and looked at the hand there and noticed, and then was like, "Wait, hold on," and shows it to the opponent, it's like, "I think this is my lost zone," and they're like, My hand's over here," and then if they just did that, even though they did the initial thing that happened, it would be 100% cleared up. It'd be like, "Oh, they just, like, I don't know how they got there, and the way they got there looked fishy," but if they just all of a sudden are just like, "Yo, this is my lost zone," like, then it would be fine. And it's fine to make errors and then be like, "Yo, I made this. This shouldn't be how this is now. I somehow made a mistake here. Something got messed up. This should be there or that should be here." And that's fine. Errors and mistakes happen all the time, but it's when the error or mistake happens and you choose to not try to get it corrected or resolved and try and maintain the board state, right? And at that point, it's when it becomes cheating. So I think no matter what, like I said, if the information that I've received and from what I've seen, I think no matter what, Dario cheated. I think there's a possibility it could just be Dario panicked. Dario like looked at the hand and was like, "I don't know what this is. I don't know where this came from. But I'm just gonna keep playing the game, right?" And if that is the case, that Dario just kind of panicked in that situation, I don't think it's not as malicious as it could have been, you know. But I think with that said, do you have anything else to go over on this topic, Chip? Or are you
I
kind
don't
of burnt out on
s
cheaters?
I don't think so. Yeah, definitely a little burnt out, but we can move on, and we can move on by thanking our sponsor, Dragon Shield. Huge thanks, as always, to Dragon Shield for being a sponsor of the Uncommon Energy podcast. Of course, Dragon Shield makes some of the best card gaming and tabletop gaming products and accessories on the market. Best known in the Pokemon TCG space for their excellent sleeves. Was able to crack a fresh pack of black mats this weekend at my cup, and it just felt so good. It felt so right. I'm so glad I've got a full case of them ready to go.
Yeah, huge shout out to Dragon Shield. I gotta pick out what colors I'm bringing with me to Japan here in like a week or so. But
Your stock
um,
back there is looking a little low,
I
honestly.
know I've been going through it, bro. A long season so far. It's been a long season. Um, yeah, might need to hit up a replenish going into the new season. It's so close too. The new season is like we have like I think we have 3 weeks between Worlds and the
Yeah, in
first regional.
Pittsburgh. It's like a
Yeah,
month, I think.
yeah. But huge shout out to Dragon Shield as always for sponsoring the podcast. Check them out over at dragonshield.com/webshop /EU or US, depending on where you're located. And of course, as we always say, they're available literally everywhere: Amazon, Walmart, local game stores. You can find them just about anywhere. So check them out. And with
It
that
is
said,
more value
oh, go ahead.
to take your if you get top 8 at a league cup and you win like 5 packs or something like that, don't crack those packs. Trade them back into the store and get yourself 2 packs of Dragon Shields that you'll use for multiple tournaments, multiple
There you
cups or
go.
whatever, and move on.
That's what I always did with whenever I went to cups or challenges and one store credit. It was always just get some Dragon Shields. That was it every single time. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into guess that flavor text. Flavor text, everyone's favorite segment of the podcast. This is where me or Chip will pick a card and then read the flavor text on that card. And then it's up to the other host to try and guess which Pokemon that card belongs to. And if you get it right without using any lifelines, you get 4 points for each lifeline you use. You get 1 less point. Today, I'm picking a card for Chip to try and guess. Chip, are you ready?
Oh, a little bit of a yawn there, but yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's get it.
The first symptom of its sting is numbness. The next is an itching sensation so intense that it's impossible to resist the urge to claw at your skin.
Hmm. So, I mean, this could be some sort of poison type. This could be some sort of bug type as well. I also could feel this being like one of the jellyfish Pokemon. Sounds like that. You did give me Frillish like just a couple weeks ago, so
Then didn't you give
don't.
me Jellison a little
Yeah, I
not that
think
long
so. We've been a
ago?
big fan of the the jellyfish
We're
over
running low
here.
on jellies over here.
I could see it being Tentacool or Tentacruel though, or maybe Toadscruel or
Oh, it's
Toadstool,
cool.
Toadscool and Toadscruel. Man, they really
Oh, it's
hate the casters
cruel.
with these Pokemon names, to be honest. Let me hear the flavor text one more time, please, sir.
The first symptom of its sting is numbness. The next is an itching sensation so intense that it's impossible to resist the urge to claw at your skin.
Yeah, so I'm gonna want to get a little bit of help here. Let's start with what set the card is from.
Card is from Silver Tempest.
Ooh, okay. That should be helpful. I did open a couple boxes of Silver Tempest, so I feel like might be able to think through some of the evolution lines in there, some of the Pokemon that are there. I don't think there was a Tentacool or a Tentacruel. So maybe not a jellyfish. Maybe it's more of like one of the bug Pokemon potentially. I think there was a oh, is that Beautifly line the one that like draws you up to 6 cards? I think that might be from like Lost Origin actually. Oh, is it Parasect maybe? It could okay, let me Parasect or Paris is now kind of something I'm thinking of. But they don't really sting you, I don't think. They've got claws, they're pinching you. They're not stinging you, they're pinching you. Let me get a stage that the card is.
Is a basic.
Basic. I feel like you always pick basic Pokemon. Is there a reason
Maybe.
for this?
No, I thought I picked some. I guess maybe I picked more basics than evolutions. That's possible.
And then
Definitely
let's go
possible.
ahead and just round it out with an attack name. You're definitely gonna just say like Poison Sting.
Poison sting.
So sick. um, are you proud of yourself for that?
No, go ahead.
Oh
Well, I
man.
think it's just funny that you said it before I said it because I thought it was gonna be funny enough when I said it, but
Yeah, Poison Sting. Yeah, I don't think there's like a Nidoran line. I don't think you're giving me that again as well. Some poison type. Itching that you have to scratch it. I can't remember if that Parasect line is in Silver Tempest or if it's in a different set. I kind of think it's a different set. I'm gonna just have to go with Paris. I'm not sure that I'm sure that is not right, but I can't. I'm running out of time. Let's just go with it. Paris.
no, it is not Paris. It is Mariani.
What?
Is that how you pronounce the name? Mariani?
Mariani is not a Pokemon.
Mareanai.
Marini?
Marini?
Oh my
Mariani?
gosh.
Marini.
Mariani.
Sounds Italian.
Bro, what is wrong with you? Mariani?
Marini. Marie. Then the A is there's like no A there. The A is silent.
Yes. Yeah.
Mariani. Maybe it's
Marini.
maybe it's an Italian Marini. Mariani.
Mariani.
Mamma mia,
Oh.
Mariani.
Yeah.
Would you have ever gotten? Do you think you
No,
ever
I
got
don't
there?
think so. This is not a Pokemon that was really on my radar.
Yeah, who even like it's like the evolution is what Toxapex. Like, what even is a Toxapex? You know, like
Do you know the lore of Toxapex?
no, what is the
That
lore?
they like crunch up and eat Corsola on like they eat the coral reef, so they eat Corsola on the
Oh, really?
seabed.
Man, I mean, Pokemon really are just like animals, right? At the end of the
Yeah,
day,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
To survive in the cold waters of Galar, this Pokemon forms a dome with its legs enclosing its body so it can capture its own body heat.
it is kind of cool looking to be honest. I've never really looked at it before. Um,
Toxapex?
yeah, I mean, I don't know why anyone
Toxapex is
would.
kind of cool. Toxapex is really good in the singles video game. It's not very good in VGC, I don't think, but like in like Smogon singles, I think it was like at least it has been in the past. I used to watch some of that stuff, but
I was talking or I was talking about the singles versus doubles on my stream earlier because I was just kind of curious. And apparently, yeah, doubles apparently is just like the much more complicated of the two formats, but singles is kind of like the casual enjoyers way to battle.
yeah.
But yeah, there's like definitely a difference in like meta and all that stuff. I didn't actually know in singles that you played with all 6 of your Pokemon.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's very
what was
much
topic
like
4?
just community based, right? Like the official competitive format recognized by the Pokemon Company is VGC. So,
Yeah.
and like even the in-game singles ladder cuz like they have a singles and a doubles competitive ladder that runs every single month. It'd be really sick if we had a TCG game that did that, but we don't.
Pretty cool.
Um, and the singles ladder, I'm pretty sure is just 3v. It's like bring. I can't remember if it's bring six, pick three, or if it's just bring three. I think it
Hmm.
might be bring six, pick three.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
Um,
they have like a real ranked. I don't know how like every other game has a real ranked ladder, and then we get whatever.
let's just not
I
get
mean,
on
they're
this
to be honest,
soapbox
their ranked
again,
ladders aren't that good when you compare to something to like League of Legends or something like that, like the video game
dude.
and the Unite ones. But
No,
like
stop. Azul, like
in
you're repeating what
comparison.
you've said like 20 times.
All
Let's
right,
move
let's move
on.
on to our next topic then. This is probably the last major tournament before Worlds. I want to say I didn't even know this was happening until it was happening. But yeah, the Asia Open summer just went down, and Mew's back at it. Spiritombs
What
are
is it with
gone.
Mew just like winning all of these Asian tournaments, man? Literally,
I
like
don't
every
know.
event that happens in Asia, it's just another Fusion Mew list to look at.
And I mean, like, yeah, the last time it won in Japan, and there was a Spiritomb in the Guardi deck, right? Like,
Yep,
I'm sure there was a lot less Spiritombs floating around
I agree. Yeah.
this time, but actually, I take that back. Both top 4 lists had Spiritomb. Um,
Gudra
so
and Lost
so
Tina.
that means the Mew deck played against a Spiritomb in top 4 and was able to take it against them. But it is the fusion build, right? So they got the Ice Cube, they got the fusions from the Genesect to shut it down. Is Mew just that good?
Yeah, maybe so. They do have the 3/4 Sealstone as well, which can kind of help you get out of the Spiritomb, and it leaves you give at least gives you some playability. And like also, if you just win the coin flip and get to go first, I don't know what their
Yeah.
format was for this tournament, right? Like, did
It was
they
best two out of
play?
3. It was top 16, best 2 out of 3.
Okay.
Once they got to top 16, it was single elimination, best 2 out of 3.
Yeah, but I mean, all it takes is like you go first one game, you get good enough of a setup where even by the time they get
Yeah.
Spiritomb, you can respond. Like if you all you need to do is go first and get down Sealstone, right? Draw a
Yeah.
few cards, get a Sealstone, and then like that's going to give you enough to respond to the Spiritomb.
Yeah.
And then like you've got two more games to, go first again, or maybe they prize Spiritomb, like just get set up enough to make it happen because um I mean, I have to imagine like either like Lost Zone Tina has a pretty good Mew matchup. Well, I guess it has in the past. Maybe now, like, there's no
Well,
Drapion. It's a
you
little
have the
bit
Spiritomb
tougher,
now, so
right?
You have Spiritomb
Um,
now, so I feel like it probably evens out pretty close, right?
yeah, but I mean, I feel like Drapion's almost just better because you just go knockout with Drapion and then V Star power with Giratina. Like
It might be, to be honest. Yeah, it could be. I think one thing about Mew though in general, to be honest, I feel like Mew, if it plays the game a little bit, it's like its floor for playing a game is a lot higher than other, like if you don't just completely brick and just go like Mew Genesect pass and then like literally losing a turn, right? But like when other games are kind of dirtling along, like Lost Box, they whiff the turn one cram, they get a turn two cram. Okay, they found like another Pokemon to kind of stay alive. Like you're kind of just like bleeding out. I feel like Mew has way less of those bleeding out games, or basically none, right? It's either you completely brick as Mew, or if you just get like that one battle VIP pass, you're doing everything you want every single turn, right? So I feel like Mew's floor for its minimum I'm in the game kind of games, the overall power level in those games is so much higher than so many other decks. You know what I'm saying? Um, but when other decks are kind of sitting there barely surviving dirtling, like they've been out of the game for like 2, 3 turns already. But Mew never has those. Either Mew just straight bricks, but it doesn't straight brick any more than other decks. It's just like its floor for power in the game is just a lot higher. It feels like so. So it is going to punish people dead drawing more often. It feels like
Yeah,
doesn't
in
dirtle
this
as
list,
much.
I don't think there's anything too like spicy to talk about. They did play one Hisuian Heavy Ball, which you don't really see all that often. Or
Every now and
do
then,
you see
yeah.
it more in this version of the deck with the Ice Cube? I think like you probably see it a bit more, right?
I don't know. I don't. We can look at the list of that one Japan not that long ago. What did they have? Did they have the heavy ball? No heavy ball on that list, so they had the Ice Cube as well. I don't know. That's yeah. You should. I would say you see it now and then. It's like some people play it, some people don't.
Yeah,
I'm
and it's
pretty. I'm
like
a
the
pretty
type
big
of
fan
thing
of
where
it
you're
though.
like pretty decent odds to just like hit a basic Pokemon on Heavy Ball, and like even
Yeah,
if you prize like one of your four of Genesects, grabbing it off with Heavy Ball is pretty good.
yeah. Making sure you can like have those powerful Ice Cube and Mellow turns more consistently is nice. And then also, you're playing Mew. Mew loves to just have cards that you can play, right? So like the
Yeah.
heavy ball, you could have nothing prized, but at least you get to play it, right? You play it, get nothing, but now you draw one more card with your next Genesect.
But other than that, I mean, they did have the one cleansing gloves, which seems to be kind of a popular inclusion to be able to one
Yeah,
hit KO a Guardy EX, make or a little bit
a
easier
little
to one hit
easier.
KO a
Yeah.
Guardy EX, like one less power tablet necessary. And they did take down Lugia in the finals. Single strike Lugia. We did see a little bit from this deck in NAIC, one in top eight, a couple more kind of hanging around there. Um, and from this, I think we're kind of seeing similar things to what we've seen. There's no Penny in this list, but there is the one Squawk. There is the Snorlax with a couple of therapy energies as well.
Yeah, so a little bit extra in the single prize trade-off. No Stone Journer or second Yveltal, which we sometimes see, but has the Snorlax, yeah, the aggressiveness of the Squawk ability. The 3 research is like the biggest thing that stands out to me is like in
That's
my
kind of
head, I'm just like
becoming common though.
I'm just like, that can't be right, bro. Like Lugia, like I feel like research is so powerful in Lugia. It's like, how could you not play?
Yeah.
But maybe the Squawk kind of makes up for that enough. I guess like that's could kind of be where
I think if you play
my head goes a little bit.
Squawkabilly, you can get to a spot where it feels okay to play 3 research. But I think if you're playing 3 research and Squawkabilly, I'd be trying to play a third Iono in there. And I think even if you're
Yeah.
not playing Squawkabilly and you have 4 research, I'm trying to fit the third Iono in there.
I really like 3 Iono
Yeah.
in the Luke. It felt so much better to have that little bit extra hand disruption against the Lost Box and the Guardian matchup for sure. I'm a big fan of the 3 Iono in there. But yeah, pretty standard list overall, right? Nothing crazy really. The Snorlax is something we usually don't see
Yeah.
in these, and they even went as far as to include the therapy energy as well. So not just like a Snorlax, just hit with it. And maybe you have like one jet or something, but usually something else is getting gusted and KO'd, or the Snorlax itself is getting KO'd. So you usually don't have to worry too much about it getting stuck in the active.
Yeah,
But
I'm
kind
trying
of
to
went
figure
all
out
out with the therapy.
what they're not playing. I mean, I guess
Only
they're
one
just
V
lighter on
guard,
the
only 2 gift.
energy a little
Yeah.
bit, or like the normal energies, I should say, right? Like,
Yeah,
so
they're up
they've
to the
got one
14
more
number.
energy card than normal.
Yeah, because usually it's 13, I feel like is usually the go-to, but that's kind of
Yeah.
it. They have the pumpkin, but they're only playing the 3 stadiums where it's been kinda in between 3 and 4, and pumpkin
I
sometimes
do
there,
kind of
sometimes
like the
not.
Pumpkaboo right now with a lot of the Arceus Path decks popping back up. Like, if you want
Yeah.
to play
And
Lugia, I
Lost
think,
Tina has that
yeah,
path as well.
I think Pumpkin is probably worth it in Lugia right now.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad.
Oh, no
And then
Serena. That's it. No Serena.
that's 'cause you got the 3 boss. It's like
Yeah.
the usually if
No
you have 3
Radiant
boss.
Serena, brother.
Oh, Radiant Serena. Yeah, yeah, that is true. That is true. Maybe not expecting as much. of the Lost Box or feeling kind of comfortable against it in general. I do think that is a favorable matchup for the deck. If they don't have the Kyogre, even if they have the Kyogre, you have the Ionos now too to help us as far as hand disruption goes. So um, yeah, maybe didn't feel like they needed this arena. Just wasn't too afraid of the Turbo Lost Box specifically. No, oops, we only have two other lists though. They are Lost on decks. The Gudra, which I don't
Oh
think we've
no,
seen making
brother.
a.
We have 3 other lists. We'll get to
Oh,
the
that's
3rd one in a
true.
minute.
We haven't seen an appearance from a Gudra in a while. Um, and this one is like a little bit more Lost Boxy than just kind of straight up Gudra.
Yeah, they got the Zamazenta in there, which is kinda cool. They've got a couple of Sableye, which is something I feel like I remember us talking about on the podcast, or maybe you mentioned it on the podcast at some point, is kinda just being an option to close out the game as Gudra. So,
Yeah.
it feels like this deck, you're playing a 2/2 Gudra, you're kinda just hoping to, like, get 1 Gudra established. Get that Gudra going, attack with it, make it as hard as possible for your opponent to KO it. Eventually, it's gonna go down. You're gonna have 200 damage maybe in a few places, and you can use Cramorant, Zamazenta, or Sableye to kind of just clean up your game.
Also the Greninja as well. Like Greninja is usually your
Yeah,
tool. Like
sure.
especially like in the Lugia matchup, punch a Lugia for 200, punch a T-Tar for 200 or 170 if they had the V Guard, and then you can go like Greninja, draw 4 prize cards, right? So Sableye helps with that. But then also if you go up against like a Lost Box matchup, the main attacker in the Lost Box matchup for the Lost Box deck to kind of get through your Gudras is the Dragonite, right? They're attacking with Dragonite, they're spreading damage on their own bench, and then you kind of uh, clap back with your own Sableye, hit him with the Lost Mine, clean up a bunch of Comfeys, like, you know, you can get the prize trade going in your favor pretty aggressively. The Zamazenta kind of stands out to me as kind of like the weird Pokemon here, but maybe it's like particularly good up against like Arceus decks. Just having like a 1 prize heavy hitter like that up usually against like 2 prize decks like that is nice. So I'm sure it pulls its weight up against Arceus style decks, maybe even up against like Lost Tina as well. Just like Tina takes you out, you get to punch her for 220 back, you know, and be
Probably
able to
just good
maintain
against
your
the
prize
Lost
trade.
Box decks. Like, yeah, like it's just hard to KO, you know?
Yeah, he's also kind of annoying to KO. Sableye doesn't kill it, KO it. Crane doesn't KO, but usually sometimes like if you're up against other Lost Box decks, things sometimes go around something like your Zam. So,
Yeah.
but just like another tool in the toolbox here, which is like this box type Guja style deck.
And then the other top 4 deck that we have the list for is Lost Tina. And this is really kind of the big story of the past like 5 days in the Pokemon TCG, I feel like, is that just this deck has blown up, has been massively popular. There was a bunch of people playing it at my cup this weekend. On Twitter, I was seeing people winning cups with it. I was seeing cup results where there were 2 or 3 Lost Tina in top 8. There was 5 Lost Tina in top 8. Like, this deck is everywhere, and it's doing pretty decently in the online events as well. Didn't do super good at NAIC. It had done okay in Japan. What do you think's leading to Lost Tina doing so well at this point?
I think it's just because a lot of people are playing it. Is my guess. I don't think the deck is still very good. Every time I pick it up, it feels the exact same, which is bad. Um, so yeah, my guess would just be my guess is that just a lot of people playing it, right? That's kind of it. That'll be like the driving force. I don't think the deck is like,
It's the most popular deck in the late night right now.
yeah, I don't think the deck is, I think the deck is just like a couple points from actually being a good deck. But I think like the other tier one, tier two options are
Look at this,
better.
man.
Yeah.
Gardevoir, fourth most popular deck in the late night right now.
Then you have Lost Tina at
Lost Tina
number
and
one.
Chien Pao.
Yeah. What a time. What a time we're in. But yeah, the deck just feels like it's a couple points short of actually being, in my opinion, a good deck. I think it's still like it just feels the exact same every time I pick it up to play it. I'm like, okay, things have changed. It's got to be better now, right? And then I play it. I'm like, literally the exact same deck. Still feels terrible to play. Put it back down and go play something else. So to me, I don't know. I kind of shocking that it's so popular. I think it's just got a lot of hype behind it. If a lot of people are going to play it, and the deck's not like actually truly awful. If it can win enough games, it's going to do well. But I don't know if you have a different thought on the deck. Do you think it's as good as the hype is?
I mean, I think it is a very fine deck, and I definitely am not as low on it as you are, I would say.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, I think like 4 cross switchers lets you make some cool plays. Roxanne plus Path is pretty good against a lot of different things, especially like the Gardevoir stuff. Roxanne Path is pretty strong there.
yeah, true.
Um, And Tina is just a good attacker, right? Like you get it
It's
loaded
hard.
up properly. It's hard to KO. It's got 280 hit points, and it's not unreasonable that one Tina can take 4 prizes for you. Um, because of Star Requiem, just one hit KOs literally anything that you could be playing up against. So, and also, as most people are playing it, this is a little sketchy because there's literally just 2 water energy here, but you can attack with, of course, Radiant Greninja, and it does become one of your stronger attackers. I think if you're attacking with just if you only have 2 water energy in your deck, though, it's pretty tough to attack with Greninja unless you're making it happen via Raihan or like double Mirage Gate plays.
Yeah, that can definitely be hard. Something that'll bring up the double gate to get the Greninja going. So yeah, the
One
third water
thing that
definitely
is
helps a
good
lot,
about
but
this deck too is just like sometimes you go second and you can jet energy and abyss seeking, right? Like it just like gets you that
yeah,
much closer to 10 that much faster. So like
yeah.
this is the deck that can like most aggressively get to Sableye, I feel like.
Yeah, like definitely can lead to. Oh, I mean, you don't have vacuum, so I don't know if that trade-off is like. I think you're leaving the two prize
Mm,
on your active, so that kind of feels
yeah.
bad. I don't know. It's like, yeah, I feel like the jet energy did do a lot
But
for the
there's
deck.
so little that's gonna
Into
KO that Tina on turn 2 right now, right?
yeah, that's true.
Chien Pao, that's like just about
Mirror
it though.
match
Like
maybe, but
Gardevoir sometimes, Lost Box sometimes. Lost Box probably is a pretty decently high percentage, but like Arceus decks are not going to KO you turn 2. Um, Gardevoir decks most of the time are not going to KO you turn 2. So yeah, I don't know. I think that this is a deck that we're probably going to see a decent bit from at the World Championships, to be honest.
yeah, I think we probably will. To be honest, I agree. I think it probably will come around, and there'll be a decent amount of people playing it. Um, which as long as my predict or my thoughts on the deck aren't wrong, I'm gonna definitely like that because that'll be a lot of free matchups. But
Oh snap!
may maybe I am wrong on this one. It's a lot better than I think it is. Another deck that or where was I going with this? I don't know. The next deck and the last deck that we have the results for here, though, is definitely one of my favorite decks of all time. I don't think it's great in the meta, but it's a little bit better than I thought because I did play around with it a little bit today on when I was streaming, and that's the Reggies, which was definitely the I guess surprise of the top 16 for sure to see a Reggies in the top 16.
Yeah, I think everyone looks at these results and is like, okay, Mew won, but there's a
Again.
Reggies. Okay, hold up. Let's see the list. And yeah, there's a little bit of life breathed back into this deck. It got a lot of help in Paldea evolved, Super Rod and Luminous Energy up at the top. Artisan also being a solid potential inclusion here. Man, this deck though, I just feel like with Iono being such a prevalent part of the format and the fact that you can't play gift energy because it
Yeah.
counteracts with your luminous energy, that just feels tough, man. That feels so tough.
Yeah, that's like the big that's like why Reggie's was a good deck is because of gift energy, right? No deck had
People
that
tried to play
constant.
it before gift energy came out. It was fine, but when gift energy came out, like that Lost Origin format, Reggie's was
Yeah.
like, I mean, you guys were like, there was like 5 Reggies in the top 8 of that Salt Lake City, right? Something like
Yeah.
that.
It was a
Like
lot of Reggies.
the deck was so
Um,
good then.
the deck was very good for sure. Yeah, Reggie's was very, very good then for sure. So definitely does not feel as powerful. I don't think this is like the revival of Reggie's by any means. It's cool to see it in the top 16. And definitely felt pretty good when I played it on stream the other day. I had a lot of fun with it. It's definitely a really fun deck to pick back up and mess around with. And yeah, could still be a decent play if you're looking to have some fun and winning isn't the only thing on your mind. But yeah, the lack of gift. If you could somehow make it work with gift energy, I think it could be a Reggie comeback. But it's just yeah, it's impossible to make it. Like Loomis is too important to actually be able to attack. So it makes it too hard to actually ever get the gift on your Pokemon because you can't have gift and luminous there. So maybe like some kind of weird build where you have like one gift energy and towards the late game, you can make the gift energy work to attack with like Regigigas, or you got like the like in this list specifically, you do have the water or the fire and the grass.
The
So
double metal, why is that here?
I have no clue. That's what I was asking. It's good against Mew. It's good against Chien Pao. It does give you an attack, like one of your attackers a little bit like the Regidrago. You just need the fire or the grass plus the luminous plus any energy besides the double turbo. So it gives you like one more attacker that is a little bit easier to set up than the others, I guess. And maybe maybe they felt like that was the one they used most often in the meta was the Registeel. So they were like, I should be able to attack more consistently with one of my attackers. Let's
Sure.
make it the Registeel.
And it probably is meta dependent. I think in our meta right now, it does feel like Arceus things are on the rise. So like I would probably go to 2 fighting, right? Just so you can.
Or just get a wall. Regice is really good against the V Pokemon in general as well,
It's
like
true, yeah.
yeah, shutting down a Tina or whatever. So
And there's no
um
more big parasol to like stop any of those
yeah,
shenanigans, right? That was the
more
problem
Parasol.
for like the
I
Reggie deck, right? Azul lost to quite a few big parasols, I think, with some Gudras running around, huh?
tied a lot of I lost the one I tied
Okay,
the other two. I
okay,
got
okay,
some
okay.
ties in there. I definitely was not a fan. But yeah, it's cool to see the Reggies getting that placement. And yeah, definitely if you're looking to just play Pokemon and have fun, pick up the Reggies for sure.
I
Definitely a
saw
good
Cal
time.
Connor won a cup with this Reggie's list, or at least someone similar to it. So a couple
Actually.
good players. I mean, he could have been trolling, but I think he did
Oh.
tweet it.
At least made the tweet, whether or not the tweet is legit.
Yeah, that is to be determined, right?
Yeah, maybe Reggie's is actually the secret sauce right now. Maybe it's a lot better than everyone thinks. It definitely felt better than I thought it would feel. It didn't feel like it was actually a good deck. And Reggie's is really easy to counter as well. I don't think anyone's going either way to counter it, but if it ever get to that status of, oh, this is actually a contender, let me just put an Avery here, put a Collapse Stadium there, whatever it might be. And it'll be having a tougher time for sure.
And I think we can move on to our final topic here, where we want to talk about a few more cards that were revealed. These will be things coming out in Obsidian Flames, and Obsidian Flames pre releases are starting this weekend. I know Azul doesn't care about that stuff. I might go hit one up this weekend if I have some time. Depends on what we got going on around the house, but I'm going to try to potentially get out there and go play in a pre-release because doing the build and battle kits, it's a fun time. I enjoy it, and getting your hands on the new cards is always fun a little early.
Yeah, actually, I do actually enjoy pre-releases. The last one I went to was a long, it was pre-COVID, but pre-releases are pretty fun, especially with the build and battle kits now, where you actually get like a decent deck to like play games with. You actually get to play Pokemon as opposed to get like stomped
And
by
you want to come to a pre-release this weekend?
yeah, I'll fly out right now.
This is
Yeah, no
probably a
pre-releases
good
for me.
set to go for, though. Like, I mean, you just high roll, hit the Charizard, throw that bad boy up on eBay when you get home.
Is that the move? But yeah, some new cards. Start off with that Vespa Queen EX. This one's really cool. I really like the attack. The big attack on this one's really cool. It's got, you know, 270 HP. It's stage 1. The first attack is terrible. For 1 grass energy, heals 60 from one of your Pokemon. But for 3 grass, we're looking at put 3 damage counters on each of your opponent's bench Pokemon that already have damage counters on it, alongside the 200 to the active, which is you're spreading a lot of damage to set up knockouts. You're doing 200 to the active. That's pressuring for a KO. Like, I don't know. That seems pretty solid to me.
I think the only way that this card would ever see play.
Hold on. Have you figured out the best way to set this thing up to attack yet?
I mean, I was gonna say Fortress EX, but is there something that's
Oh,
better?
there is something that's better. And I didn't know about it initially either, but I was informed. There's a better way. Do you want me to give you a chance to guess what it is?
Gardenia.
No, it's actually pretty good. The way to set this thing up is actually pretty good.
I mean, does it involve? Is it like a trainer card?
It is a Pokemon.
Can Cherim accelerate to
Oh,
this? Cherim says no rule box Pokemon, right?
that is true.
I don't know. Azul hit me with it.
What does Vespiquen evolve from?
Combi. Is there some good Combi?
Okay, okay. Well, hold on. What does Cherim do?
Oh, so you accelerate to the Combi and then evolve into Vespiquen?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
Exactly. So that's
sure.
not I think that's actually pretty decent. That works, right? That works.
Honestly, dude, it's broken. Vespiquen for Worlds. Vespiquen for Baltimore. You heard it here first.
Let's run it. You mean Pittsburgh? Going back to
Whatever.
Baltimore? Yeah, let's no more Baltimore again. We're not going down to the bunker
Whatever other
again.
Pennsylvania city. Yeah.
No, but yeah, I think that would actually be that seems decent. Like that's seems pretty solid to me. I'm excited for some kind of Cherim Vespiquen box type deck. Maybe find some kind of grass attackers that spread some damage early, and then you get into the Vespiquen later on in the game. I don't know, but that's cool. I mean, I think the attack is just really good. There's a lot of damage to kind of throw out there, right?
Yeah, the way Azul is lining it up, I'm pretty sure this deck is terrible. But I'm going to tell you the only way that I think this card ever sees any play, and that is if somehow some Fortress EX deck is super good, super relevant, which I think is possible. I think Toad Scroll EX
Oh, the cruel.
is a super good card. So maybe we'll see
Hey, Toad
something
Scroll
from
with
that in
Cherim
the
is just
future.
better, right?
Huh?
in Fortress. Toedscruel with Cherim.
I mean, it's possible.
Oh, are we cooking?
It's possible. You might actually want to, like, actively Iono your opponent, though,
Why?
and,
Just
like,
like,
pulling your energy from the deck, right? Like, you Iono them to 4 cards, like, right off the rip, you know?
yeah, maybe.
But
Um,
anyway, I think the best way for this card to see play is if some grass deck is really good, be it Cherim or Fortress, one of the 2,
the Cherim in
and you
there
need a psychic type to hit for weakness to one hit KO something. That's, to me, I think, the best place for this card.
might be it. Cherim does rotate soon. It's in battle styles, so as soon as rotation hits, Cherim is gone. But we're getting another, January rotation. Could be around for a little bit. Let's go ahead and move on to the next card that's probably worth talking about here. I don't know if you had any plans to talk about anything else yet. I was going to jump up to the Belly Bolt, unless you
Yeah,
had
I have not
you want
read
to
a
make a
lot of this stuff, to be honest, so
yeah. So we can jump up to the Belly Bolt then. Let's go to make a stop along
okay.
the way.
It's got the ability Insulator, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's lightning Pokemon. So a little bit of a wall ability. I mean, we've seen this like stage 1 that's immune to a certain type be a thing before, and these have popped up and done well. There was Grant's Quad Wob deck that he played an Araquanid in because it couldn't be
Yep.
hurt by Volcanion, which was a meta relevant deck. And then there was the Players' Cup where Natalie Miller played
Bronzong.
the Heatproof Bronzong that couldn't be hurt by fire types, right? So it's
Yep.
like these little stage 1s have popped up and been decent before. It's totally dependent on metas and stuff like that. So if there's a top tier lightning deck, like if Miraidon was running around everywhere and they only play lightning Pokemon, maybe there's some control deck or something at some point that you just slap this bad boy in play and you win the game.
Wait, so we have the Bronzong with Heatproof. There's a Heatproof Bronzong legal right now because they
Yes.
reprinted it basically. But then we also have the Fido or the evolution of Fido.
Yes.
So there's two Pokemon in the format.
Doxbun.
Yeah, Doc's but there's two Pokemon in the format that say they can't be hit by fire Pokemon. What? Why do we need two of these
Yes.
things?
Yeah, Doxbun with the well-baked body.
We got
Can't be burned as well, by the way.
ooh. Okay, that might be
Strict
yeah.
upgrade.
Bronzong can be burned. We gotta look at the weaknesses too, though. Bronzong weak to fire, so completely cancels out being weak to fire. But Doxmon weak to metal. So if the fire deck is teching some metal Pokemon, if they're teching their own Bronzong, might want to go with the Bronzong tech yourself.
Hey, listen though, Bronzong's got 130 HP. That guy, he's a fatty, you know.
That's
Doxbun,
true.
level
Level
ball.
ballable.
Let's
Level
get
ball.
it. And
Yeah.
you can fog crystal for the basic.
Oh, okay. You're already thinking. So do you have a secret Doxmon deck you haven't told us about, Chip?
Yeah, I
You
just gotta
got it
wait for the fire deck to become top tier, you know.
already cooking. But yeah, now we got the belly ball in there as like another one to potentially for those like scenarios. Like if your deck beats everything except this one, except Miraidon, you beat everything. Miraidon's a tier 1 deck in next meta, next format, whatever. And you
Yeah.
beat everything except Miraidon, your belly bolts are coming out. So it's definitely a Pokemon to remember that exists.
Yes.
Um, I feel like we have to mention, scroll up a little bit. We have to mention the printing of. It's been a while, um, but we've got a Bonsly for the first time in.
You're just gonna skip Soul Rock and
Yep,
Lunatone?
they're not good. We can keep going.
Not right
You can read them.
now, but
They'll
it's
never be
a
good.
it yeah, they're not great right now, but it's like an interesting
The Bonsly
effect. I
could be
mean,
good
it
though.
cancels out Path to the Peak. Um
Put this in your Mew deck then. Put through on your bench in your Mew
yeah,
deck.
that scenario obviously, but it's just kind of an interesting effect. And you know, these are two Pokemon that have always historically worked in tandem, and they have in the past been very good. The Lunatone Solrock combo back in like the 2006, the EX era, that combo was in a lot of decks because it just shut down the right stuff. This is, you know, probably not great, but it is unique where the Lunatone has an ability. If you have a Soul Rock in play, ignore any effects of stadiums on your Pokemon in play. So, not Path to the Peak specifically, maybe being worth it, but like I could see this being relevant at some point in the future. It is
Yeah,
two
maybe
bench
the
spaces,
bench, but
obviously,
yeah,
but
gonna need like Skyfield to come back first before putting Lunarock and Soul
well, I
together.
mean, there's definitely decks like I mean, think about like an Arceus deck, you know,
All
like
right,
that's
Chip,
a
it's time to move on. Let's
okay.
look at the Bonsly. It's been a while. The first Bonsly card in 16 years, and I know it's one of your favorites. The
Dude,
old
Bonsley's a sick Pokemon, man. I've got a he's right back there on the shelf. I don't know if you can see him.
To the left of the
left
logo.
of the sign. Yeah.
I see him. Yeah, I see him. I see him a
Hang
little
on,
bit
let me
there.
get him real quick.
All right, go get the
I gotta show
Bonsley.
everyone Bonsley.
Yeah, but for anyone who doesn't know, there's only ever one other. There's two Bonsleys ever printed in the Pokemon TCG. And this is now the second one that we have. The other one came out in like Diamond and Pearl or pre-Diamond and Pearl. It was Diamond around Diamond and Pearl. But it's been 16 years since we've had a Bonsly. Well, no, it must be pre-Diamond and Pearl. Yeah,
Yeah,
there we go.
Diamond and Pearl base set was the last Bonsley card.
Sheesh,
Um,
man.
yeah, nothing super special about this guy. 30 HP. It does have free retreat, a free attack, which is always cool, but he's really
No
just here
Cleffa.
for moral support, you know.
Yeah, no Cleffa. All right. I think there's really only one more card to talk about, and it's the big one that everyone's kind of making a hubbub about. It's the Stadium card. That everyone thinks is going to make Gardevoir broken, possibly, maybe. I think it's like okay. It's definitely good in Gardevoir. It seems it's not out yet, so who knows what the meta looks like. But the Moonlight Hill. Once during each player's turn, that player may discard a Psychic Energy card from their hand in order to heal 30 damage from each of their Pokemon in play. That's a lot of value from a Stadium card, as long as there's damage to be healed. And when your deck puts damage on your own Pokemon to be healed, and also wants Psychic Energy in your discard pile, that'll be pretty good in Gardevoir, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the fact that like the reason people have considered Champions Festival in Gardevoir up to this point is the fact that um on your little guardie, your like one prize guardie, if you get the Champions Festival heal, you can get one more attachment to it, which lets you hit just a little bit harder. This can let you get two more attachments to it, right? Healing just that little bit extra.
Yeah.
So it makes a big difference. Gets you on odd math as well. Sometimes that can be relevant as opposed to even, HP numbers. Super good card. I think something that would be interesting to see is like what the final translation is can you discard an energy if you don't have damage in play? I'd be kind of interested to see that. I don't know that that would come up that often, I guess, but the way it's
Ooh,
worded right
true.
now in this, it doesn't look like you could. It's like you have
Yeah.
to heal to discard the energy, most likely.
Yeah. But you could like make that happen pretty consistently. Definitely doesn't make the card. It makes the card a little bit worse, of course, but like not that much worse.
Yeah,
Like the card
yeah,
still
still very
seems
strong.
definitely insane in Gardevoir. I don't know. Maybe it could be a tipping point where Gardevoir becomes it feels a little bit too powerful in the format. What do you think about them? Like Gardevoir definitely doesn't need more cards, right? Do you think we both agree on that? Like, did they really need to give another card that's really good with Gardevoir? Or the one thing I was thinking, are they giving this to? Is this not for Gardevoir? Is there another Pokemon coming out with it? Because this is not coming out in Obsidian Flames, right? This is after Obsidian Flames, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming out in Japan as a gym promo card as
Oh yeah, so we
well.
have no idea when we. It'll probably be after Obsidian Flames that we get this though, and after
Most likely
151.
the fall, like winter set, though,
Yeah,
like the November set. So, and like the fact it's being distributed in Japan specifically as a promo as well. I
we're
mean,
getting
one of their other gym
Cramomatic
promos
again.
is Cramomatic, right? And that's like
Yeah.
$80 to $100 a piece for them. Like, so if anyone wants to play Mew, it's they're hard committed um to spending that extra money. So, I mean, is that going to be the case for this stadium in Gardevoir? Yeah, I do think like it does feel like Gardevoir doesn't necessarily need the extra support, but I don't think that this is like a tipping point that like this is a card that to me seems very good, but it doesn't make Gardevoir necessarily broken or unbeatable. It just is like good in it. And it honestly might be better for some decks if Gardevoir is playing the stadium. So think about something like Lugia, right? Lugia's main problem against Gardevoir right now is the fact that they, at the end of the game, can go Iono plus Temple of Sinnoh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, are you fitting Temple of Sinnoh plus this stadium plus like Artisan plus all the other different things that people are trying to put in their Gardevoir deck as far as their stadium counts? Like, there's so many good potential stadiums you could be playing. You got to make the decision somewhere. And so if you're more committed to this, maybe you have to take you just have less options against something else, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely true. So yeah, maybe some decks will actually like that fact. For sure. We'll definitely have to see. We'll have to see in the end. And yeah, like I said, if it is coming out, I mean, we're not getting it until yeah. It is a little bit weird how that is released then, because like I guess we could maybe make a pretty good assumption that it won't be being released for us alongside a bunch of good potential psychic Pokemon that could abuse it as well, because it's coming out as like a the gym challenge or gym whatever promo thing in Japan. So it's not trying to be released alongside a bunch of other good psychic Pokemon, right? So it's probably a
Yeah,
good
it's like a
guess that
one-off
there's
release, so it almost is
yeah,
kinda like just
it's just there for
being
Guardy.
added to the current card pool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it is just kind of there for Guardy. It feels like probably then because it is that. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And I think it's the only thing to cover unless you want to look at the Pepper card.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can just mention him real quick. A Scovillain EX. What do you think about this Pokemon, Azul?
I don't think it's as bad as some of the other ones we've seen. Like it's okay. I mean, it's just like what, two bell peppers or
Yeah,
like
he's a cool guy.
yeah,
I like
or hot
Scovillain. I think
peppers.
Scovillain's pretty cool.
Yeah,
But it's got the spicy bind attack. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned, and then that Pokemon
habaneros.
can't retreat. And then for 2 grass energy, 2 faced crush, 140 damage, and discard 1 card from your opponent's hand at random, and then also discard the top card of your opponent's deck. So it's a pretty
We're
energy
getting
efficient attack. It's just 2 grass energy, and that's
yeah,
I think 2 pretty annoying effects, honestly.
yeah. You know what that combos really well with?
Iono.
Cherim. Cherim to set up your peppers and then
All right.
yo, they're
Thanks
kind of giving
so
us all these
much.
sick right as the Cherim's about to rotate. Well, hopefully it doesn't rotate till January. All these like good because like we can Cherim combos with the not like you can't put on rule box Pokemon, but these EXs evolved from non-rule box Pokemon. Cherim's about to do work. Get your Cherims, or it's too late and the price goes up.
Hey, you wanna know
Um,
something, Azul? There's a non-hollow Charm from, the Build and Battle kit, so if you want Charms, you gotta go buy the non-hollows.
I guess I got to go get those non-hollow Cherims. I might have those already, to be honest. I might have the non-hollow Cherims. I'm actually not
Oh,
sure.
Azul was prepped to play Snorlax Charm, he was ready.
Yeah, no, but I might already have the Cherims. Cherims, I mean, that ability is good, right? Cherim's ability is good.
Sure, sure.
I was a fan of that Cherim Regidrago deck. That deck was fun for sure. But yeah, Cherim's chill, and it's become more chill with the release of these EX Pokemon when they finally come out.
And I think with that, Azul, that is gonna do it for this week's episode. Unless you have any other thoughts, anything else you wanna say, I can send us out and get us into the bonus episode.
No, I think we're ready to get into that bonus episode over on the Patreon. Take us away, Chip.
Yeah, thanks a bunch to everyone for listening and supporting the Uncommon Energy podcast. We very much appreciate it. If you did enjoy this episode, please be sure to leave us a like, leave us a review, a rating, all those good things on your favorite podcasting platforms. Also, if you're over here on the YouTube channel, be sure to drop a like and a comment, help the algorithm, help people find the podcast, and help us keep making this thing grow and continue to make it happen. And if you want to stay up to date with us, the best place to do it is over on Twitter. You can follow myself at Chip Ritchie. Azul is at Azul_GG. And you can follow the podcast at Uncommon_Energy. We didn't even talk at the top of the episode, by the way, about how we were delayed by a day. So we apologize for that.
Oh yeah,
But if you follow us on Twitter, you saw we did update everyone last night on Twitter that we're a day late here this week.
yeah. But we'll be back on schedule next week, or we should be back on schedule next week, Tuesday, 7 a.m. Eastern. So catch y'all next Tuesday. The week after that might be a little bit fluky because I'm leaving for Japan on like Sunday. But yeah, expect the regular time next week, and hopefully the week after as well. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. Have a good one, and catch y'all in the next one.